Alice Seba, and today we have a good buddy of mine who's happens to be the premier Kindle publishing expert on the internet, and he paid me a lot of money to say that. His name is Ty Cohen, and Ty has this long bio, man. But I'll tell you about Ty just from the heart. What I've known him for years and years. The thing that impresses me the most about Ty is he maximizes opportunities. He'll catch on to something and become an expert at it and just maximize it. Like Ty has this webinar he's been doing, and he's like taught so many people, and he has so many students that are really doing well with his course, and he's been just maximizing this thing for years now, for years. And I'm proud that I'm one of the first. I think I was one of the first people to host it with him, and we're gonna have Ty on in a couple of weeks to present that live. He's actually gonna go through case studies, going to go detailed step by step into his process of making up to $50,000 a month on Amazon Kindle, passive income. I mean, you put short reports and books out on Amazon, and you let the power of Amazon and their expansive marketplace bring you sales, and you just keep duplicating that effort. He's created a duplicable system for doing that, where a lot of students have succeeded with it. And other than that, I mean, I have a whole list thing. He gave me this bio, man. It's like 5 pages. So many accomplishments. He's an accomplished publishing expert, internet marketer, personal development coach, internationally known speaker, former morning talk show radio host, and you'll hear his radio voice in a minute. And you know, over a decade ago, he took a major gamble with his life financially by quitting his corporate job and starting a business of his own, and that worked out really well. And I'll let Ty tell a little bit more about his story and how he got started. How you doing, Ty? Mr. Cohen, you there?
Yeah, he
We just had a bleep for a second. Yeah, I'm there.
Okay. How's everything in North Carolina, right?
You know, yeah, I'm still here in North Carolina. I'm excited to be here. You know, you mentioned that I've been teaching people how to publish on Amazon's Kindle for it's coming up on 5 years now. And the reason why is I was just thinking about this as you were introducing me. And there's 2 reasons for that. Number one is I forgot how to do anything else. I got so comfortable with this, right? I just got so comfortable with the fact that being able to partner with Amazon and being able to generate a significant amount of income, a reliable amount of income consistently month after month. And then the other reason why is when I first got started with this, you know, like a lot of people that might be watching this broadcast, I literally was all over the place. And I'm sure you can identify with this. I'm sure, Alice, you can identify with this as well. I mean, when I say all over the place, I had shiny object syndrome to the 10th degree. Whereas every email that would come across my desk, I would open it up, I would sit there, I would watch a webinar, I would watch the video for an hour. I'd say, okay, I'm going to go in and maybe try this. And then 6 hours later, I mean, really ADD to the 10th degree, right? 6 hours later, I'd get another email, and I'd say, okay, well, wow, this really has to be it. I'm going to try this thing. And the thing that really changed for me was the moment when I had one of my assistants go into my email box, and Ron, you look like you can really identify with this. The thing that changed for me was I said, okay, I'm going to develop my own personal slogan, and that is to stay focused. All right? And I started sharing that on Facebook. I started sharing it on a lot of other social marketing networks, and people thought that I was sharing that with them, but really it was a reminder to myself. So every time I posted to Facebook, at the end of it, I had stay focused. All right, so I said to myself, I have to stay focused on one thing. This one thing seems to be working extremely well, so this is going to be it. So I then had one of my administrators go into my personal email box and unsubscribe me from every internet marketing newsletter that was out there. And those are the 2 reasons why, you know, I've been with this thing forever. I'm from the old school, and I figure if you find something that works, stick with it.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Actually, I need to do more of that. I kind of did that to some degree when I caught onto my my little niche in the cooking market. I kind of focused on that a lot and built it up to the point where it is today. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you if you find something that works, you can build that up, and you never know how far you can take it until you keep building it and building it. And there's really no limit to how far you can take it on the internet. There's no limit to the amount of customers that are out there willing to that you can help with it. So that's awesome. And you know, I wanted to ask you, why Kindle? What made you want to get involved with Amazon Kindle?
So that's a good story. Now, you and I, we have a mutual friend, Greg Caesar. right? And
Right.
before Amazon Kindle publishing, I was publishing a lot of physical books, so hard copy books through Amazon's Advantage program, which actually is a program I think that they've had in effect ever since Amazon's been around. So the Advantage program is similar to the Kindle program, but the difference is Amazon allows publishers that publish physical books to go in, have them printed up, and then shipped through Amazon. So what you would do is Amazon would send in these orders, right? They would send me orders sometimes twice a week, 3 times a week. They'd say, okay, Ty, we need 100 copies of this book, 100 copies of this book. And it got to the point where I was shipping out about 8,000 copies of all of the different titles that I had collectively. And Greg Caesar comes over my house one weekend. It was on a holiday here. And he walks in the living room and he sees I've got all of these books laid out. We're about to ship them out. And he's like, man, I know you were doing it, but I didn't know that you were doing it to this degree. So that was my entry into the Amazon Kindle publishing. About 6 months after that, Amazon came up with the KDP beta program, which is Kindle Direct Publishing beta program. And because I had already been involved with their Advantage program, they asked me to become one of their beta testers. I jumped into it reluctantly because coming from the internet marketing side of things, like we were already accustomed to the word ebook, right? And we had our market share, and we had customers that would go in and buy our ebooks from us for 37 bucks, 47 bucks. But I was kind of skeptical as to if it would be something that the masses would catch on to, right? Like, I'm saying, okay, well, Amazon wants to get into this whole ebook market. Are they really going to be able to open it up? So that was my entry into that.
Nice, nice. And I see behind you, you have that award there for World's Best Dad. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you like that, huh?
That's
Wow.
awesome, man. You know, it's funny. My daughter gave me that same award. I didn't know like it could be two of them.
I just got, actually, my daughter wrote up a certificate for me yesterday. I am her favorite mommy. Imagine that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Best dad. So you got to destroy yours now, man. There's only one. That's like a one of one right there.
Yeah, I see. I see. So, you know, speaking about that, I know a big part, you know, following you online and just knowing you personally, I know a big part of your life is your kids. You have, what, 4 kids?
4, right.
4 kids. Yeah, a big part of your life. I see Summer and her gymnastics competition, and you really have a good balance of work, making a lot of money, and also having that life, being able to spend time with your family and being able to just experience life. And that's what I also admire about you. And I'm the same way myself. And you really, you know, that's the reason I got into this business. You got to put your priorities first. The first thing is first, like that's family, and this life, this business kind of enables you to do that if you structure your business right. And Amazon Kindle is one of the ways you can do that, just getting that passive income. So you're definitely living the dream in that regard. So before we get into some of the more details on Amazon Kindle, and before we start grilling you on questions about that, you want to talk about your past and maybe your family life? I know you have a very unique and inspiring story with how you grew up in Connecticut, and the whole story behind it. I don't know how deep you want to get, how much personal stuff you want to share, but I'll give you a chance to do that if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up in Connecticut, our favorite pastime was kicking over cows. Right, so that's what we. No, I'm just kidding. I grew up in the total opposite end of Connecticut. We had no cows, we had no farms, we had none of that stuff. Right, it was actually one of the worst areas. And when you think Connecticut, you probably don't think that there could be an area like this. Right, you probably you're thinking green pastures, you're thinking Regis Philbin. Right, for those of you that are old enough to know who Regis is. But I grew up in one of the worst areas in Connecticut. It's Bridgeport, Connecticut, one of the worst projects called Father Panic Village. And if you go in and you Google Father Panic Village, you'll see where we held the highest murder rate, the highest crime rate. It was to the degree where police officers and state troopers would be afraid to come in. We actually had a few state troopers that had big issues there, because the drug dealers and things like that just wouldn't let them in. So on top of that, growing up in that environment, I was also born with what's known as sickle cell anemia, which I still have to this day. Sickle cell anemia is a disease. It's a blood disorder that really affects your blood to the point where instead of it being this round, pliable shape, right, that makes it nice and easy to flow through your veins, you create this, when you get into what's known as a sickle cell anemia crisis, your blood cells go from being round and pliable and soft to hard and sickle shape, which is where the name comes from. And it creates this excruciating pain. So pain to the point where there's been points where I've spent literally weeks in the hospital. You know, as a kid, as a teenager, I would spend 3, 4 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks in the hospital. I had to learn how to walk all over again, and I actually lost my older sister to sickle cell anemia. So, you know, my upbringing wasn't the best. I felt that I was either going to die by the age of 21 from one of two things, either by the environment that I lived in, right, was going to take me out because I saw a lot of my friends and a lot of my family uh, being killed at an early age, or I felt that this disease, sickle cell anemia, was going to kill me. As a matter of fact, one day I was in Yale New Haven Hospital, and I overheard the doctor and my mom speaking outside of my hospital room bed, and he says, "Mrs. Cohen, you shouldn't expect your son to live past the age of 17 because this thing is going to kill him." You know. Now, as I was about 12 years old when I heard that. So as a 12-year-old, and I'm just playing with my phone here, but as a 12-year-old to hear that, that's devastating, right? But I believe that with every adversity, there's something that is equally as magnificent, right? So I think that was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it gave me this drive to want to just prove the hell out of everybody being wrong. And I got to a point where, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, you know, I could talk about this all day long, but I got to a point where I said, that's not going to become my reality, all right? The gangbanging and everything else is not going to become my reality. I'm going to prove everyone else wrong, and I'm going to prove them wrong to the 10th degree. I'm going to prove them wrong like crazy to the point when they look back later, they're going to say, wow, we should have never tried to define this kid's life because that's not, you know, I don't think we should allow anyone to define our life. And I don't want to turn this into an Oprah Winfrey session or anything like this, but I think that's the reality of it there.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That's wonderful, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I get a lot of questions from people who have illnesses, health issues, or disabilities and things like that. And I think, you know, doing things on Kindle or online is a perfect way because that a lot of that stuff disappears. Nobody knows, and you know, you could work on your own schedule, and
Absolutely.
People need to hear that you know it's possible for them. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely, and you know, I got to the point where I was a manager for Walgreens Pharmacy, and there I was working 60 hours a week. You know, I worked for Walgreens for 10 years, and you know, here's another thing. I look back now and I say, and this was one of the moving forces behind me wanting to become an entrepreneur. I said, man, I'm working 60 hours a week for these folks. I'm making them rich. I'm giving them more of my time than anything else, right? I love my job because I love being able to interact with people. And a lot of our customers were elderly. I really love being able to interact with the elderly and just help them. But I knew that there was more. I knew that the possibilities for me being able to achieve more was there as well. And that happened when I had my first kid, my first daughter. I said, you know what? I have to build a better life for myself. I've got to build a better life for her. I've got to get out of this environment. And there's people that are doing it. They're no smarter than I am. They definitely won't outwork me. Right? So let's do it. So I didn't know where to start, but I started to make steps. And I think that with anything, even with Kindle publishing, the first thing is to gain that momentum. Get the momentum going. Do something. Like just write something down and don't let it stop there. Write it down, and then, you know, after you start writing something down, then the next step is to say, okay, I'm going to learn this by any means necessary. If I have to stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning, if I have to wake up at 5 in the morning, you know, which is what I used to do, and I still do that to this day sometimes. So that's that. So that's my that's my Tony Robbins session for this session here. Here we go.
Yeah. What I take from that, and you know, I have a similar kind of hardship story, probably not as hard as that, but I have a similar story. I'm not going to go into it, but what I take from that is, you know, my own personal experience. There's two types of people. There's people that use these events and the things that happen to them in life as an excuse to say, oh, I'm never going to be this, I'm never going to do that. And there's people like you and I that use it as motivation, as inspiration, right. You know, as like, okay, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. Yep. And, you know, that's how you could really use it as your best ally, your best kind of arrow in your quiver to reach your goals and succeed, for sure.
Yeah. There's no better joy than getting to that level of pleasure, right? And then looking back at that pain, like now. So our backyard, we didn't even have a backyard when we were growing up. It was like this alleyway, this walkway. So now I look at my backyard, which is acres, right? And I'm like, man, I could fit 40 of my past back, the backyards that I had when I was 19, 18 years old in this thing, and it just puts a smile on my face. Not for the property, not because of the materialistic value of it, but just knowing that, there's so many different possibilities that are out there. So that's it.
Whole projects, right? Your backyard.
Yeah, basically that's it. And then the realization comes into play that I got to mow this thing. So then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Okay.
Hey.
Did I say that? Okay, I promised I wasn't gonna curse on this thing, but okay.
And nobody heard. All right, so let's get into some Kindle stuff, right? Some specific Kindle questions.
Okay.
How much can you make on one Kindle book? I know that's a pretty open and vague question.
That's very open. I mean, there's so many different variables. It depends on the market, the genre. It depends on the price point. It depends on the content. It depends on if you're marketing it or not. I've seen where I have some Kindle books that can bring in about $3,000 to $7,000 a month. And I like to tell people, listen, go evergreen and don't go with anything that's a trend, that's a fad. So don't publish anything that's holiday based. Don't publish anything like you wouldn't want the book of to publish a book on the top 22 hula hoop tricks, right? Because it's a fad. It's gonna come and go. You've got to wait another 10 years before it comes around again. So you always want to publish something that is highly in demand, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that's highly in demand, right? That is totally evergreen, and that people are willing to pay a premium for. Right? I have one of my so here's an idea that I was thinking about yesterday, all right? And I get these ideas every once in a while. It's eyesight maintenance. So how to improve your eyesight. That's something that there's a huge audience for that, right? It's totally evergreen. Even if people are getting more and more accustomed to laser surgery, there's still a huge audience that's not going to go that route, right? My wife wants to have laser surgery, but I'm not going to let someone stick a deaf needle in my eye. It's not going to happen, right? So something like that, right? And then if you look at it from the third option is people would be willing to pay a premium for that. And then there's other things that you can sell them on the back end. So those are the things that I look for.
So how do you sell them on the back end? You just like get them on your email list, you give them something for free in the book if they go to your site. Like how do you?
Absolutely, super easy. Listen, Ron's got the whole formula already. You add a URL, and there's something that I like to do. I like to add my URL at the very beginning, in the middle, and then at the end. Sometimes I'll put it on the right-hand side of every other page. Sometimes if I'm feeling really, like a go-getter that day. The other thing is when you're putting in your URLs, make sure it's short. Like I might put something. My program is called Kindle Cashflow, right? So instead of KindleCashflow.com, my URL would be short and memorable. So something like KCF.com. So it's short, so that while they're reading your book, your ebook, they can go in and type it into their phone. Most people are on their phone right now. Most people are on a digital device, so you don't want to give them an extremely long URL because then, number one, right, the pain of having to type this thing in, and then if you get one character wrong, it's like forget it. It's not even worth going back, And then the other thing is, they're not going to remember a longer URL. So short URLs work for me. Redirect them through like some type of a tracking link, and then send them over to your landing page, your affiliate opt-in offer, or your own offer. So there's a few different ways that you can do this.
Okay. How many pages is a typical book that you publish?
Now I don't publish any more than 50 pages. Before, when I first got started, I thought it had to be 75, 80, 90, 100 pages. Now I stay between 40 and 50 pages, and Amazon has actually tested this themselves, where they have a section that's called, and they keep changing the name up, Amazon Kindle Shorts, right? It used to be, I forget what it was before, but it's Kindle Shorts, and they found that shorter ebooks tend to sell better because people can consume the information, right, quickly, while they're maybe in a doctor's visit, maybe while they're at work, maybe while they're waiting for the bus or at the train station or whatever it might be. But those tend to sell better for me, especially if it's how-to information, because I can get right to it. There's no fluff. It's all meat. You're giving great value, and then you're more likely to go in and sell that customer on something else. And that's what it's about. It's about getting those repeat customers.
Yeah, because then you're talking about a specific topic, right? If you're keeping it short,
Right.
it's very specific, then you can promote a very specific product. So when you're selling the book, like your book page, the page for the book, do you highlight that like it's sold as a short book? I guess like Amazon promotes it as that, or do you use that, promote like use the copy that you use to sell the book? Sorry, I'm trying to get
Right. Yeah, no.
Does that also highlight the fact that it's short, that it's quick, that they're going to get what they want, and then they can start applying whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, that's a great benefit right there, right? When you're writing your copy and your description, I always tell people that your description is your sales letter. So you're looking at that description right there as your sales letter. So you should be writing your best copy. And if you're not a great copywriter, you go in and you pick up a Dan Kennedy book and you'll learn the principles of copywriting, right? Or you follow someone like a Ron Douglas who's got sites that are up there, and the copy is awesome on there. Is Ron multitasking over there? What is going on over here?
I would like to say I was using the computer because some people were having trouble seeing the live stream. So I was not distracted. I was just helping.
Yeah.
I don't know what Ron's doing.
Am I popping up? Is that what's happening here? I was trying to be quiet as I do it, but okay.
Yeah. Well, you're all over the place. He's like, okay. But so your description, right, is just, I tell people there's 3 lines of defense that you have, right? The first line of defense is your title. So you have to be able to pull them in with your title. So it's got to be compelling. It's got to be informational. It's got to tell them exactly what they can expect to get out of it. Like, what can you expect to get out of this? And then your second line of defense is your cover. And it depends on if it's a male or a female. So for females, you guys are going to pay more attention to the title and then to the description. And the females that are watching this, you probably, if you think about the thought processes that take place when you're looking at a book on Amazon, the first thing is probably the title. Does it resonate with you? Is it something that you're really interested in? Let me go in and read more about this. So you then scroll down to the description. And I see Alice, she's wondering if this is the route that she takes. But for males, right, for guys, we're so visual to our own fault. Like, this really gets us in trouble. We're so visual so much. And that's a whole nother that's another hangout right there. But so guys,
we don't cover that topic.
Yeah, right. We tune right into the cover first. Like, what is this cover talking about? I mean, do I tune? And this is all happening in just really milliseconds. Do I like the cover? Is it attractive? You know, we're always thinking on levels of attraction, even when it's just text and images, right? So you've got those 3 lines of defense. You've got your title, you've got your cover, and then if you get your prospect, okay, to go past those 2 lines, the 3rd line is the description. That's, again, where we come into that sales letter, and you want to really hit them hard. You want to tell them, you know, what this thing is about, what are they going to get out of it, how is it going to benefit them, and even you can even tell them, you know, how long it's going to take them to consume this, right? It's 30 pages of short, concise information. There's no filler in here. People love that, right? Because they want to know. The worst thing our time is so valuable, right? The worst thing to do is to waste our time, to sit here and, you know, have us go through 30 pages, and within all 30 of those pages, you're telling us about what's going to take place before we even get to the point where you actually help us with the information that we need. So there you go.
I didn't realize you were such an expert on the sexes and on psychology of the sexes as well. That's awesome. I'm surprised Alice didn't jump in and say, "Wait a minute." maybe you're right.
Personal experience there.
Men's intuition.
Yeah.
So you're telling me someone could publish a 30 to 50 page ebook on Amazon Kindle, just like, what would you do? Type it out in Word on their own computer and then upload it to Amazon Kindle and be in business and just be selling it on Amazon Kindle?
Yeah, you make it sound really easy, and it actually is that easy. You know, you go in. So I actually use guidelines and templates, right? So I'm not a writer, so I'll be honest with you. I don't write any of my content. I outsource everything that I sell on Amazon. A lot of my students are writers, and I think if you are a writer, this is even better for you, because you can. But you know, sometimes being a writer, it can hurt you as well, and I want to talk about that in a minute, if you guys don't mind. But if you're a writer, this is something that really can help you, because you can go in and knock out 40 to 50 pages fairly quickly, right? We were talking about Vandre at the very beginning of this. You know, Vandre was a master at content creation. he could go in and put together 40 or 50 pages in 2 days. Like that would take me literally 3 weeks to do, right? Because it's just painful. So for me, I have a guideline that I use when I'm hiring people, and I say, listen, it needs to be 12-point font. The margin shouldn't be any larger than ½ inch all the way around, top to bottom, left to right. I needed the text to be Arial, right, font type. And then I'll even ask them to give me bullet points on the subject before they start to write it, because I want to be able to go in and take a look. Now I don't do so because I've got some really good folks that are on my team and I can trust them. But when I'm hiring someone that's new, hey, I want you to give me a synopsis, give me an outline at least that's about 2 to 3 paragraphs long. Give me a couple of bullet points so I can make sure that you know what you're talking about, that you've done the right research, that this is going to be great information, because you only want to publish really, really high quality stuff, right? Because again, it comes back to providing that value and then getting repeat customers, or providing that value and having someone else say, you know, I picked up this book by so-and-so, it's awesome, you should go and get it. You know, you want them to go on Facebook and talk really highly about your book. So it starts with that value. So that's it. You really can go in, and I didn't say 30 pages, 40 to 50 pages.
40, okay.
Yeah. So that's it.
I bet I got to put words in your mouth.
Sell at?
What's that?
What price do those books sell at?
So now it used to be between the price points of $7.99 to $9.99. Now I find within the last year I'm finding, because there's more competition that comes into play, and also because you've got pressure by publishing houses, right? For actually pressure from Amazon, that some of these publishing houses have gotten to the point where, because of the competition, they've lowered their prices. So we're finding that the price points between $2.99 to $4.99 work best.
Okay.
Where it's not something, $2.99 to $4.99 is not something where someone that might be interested in your material is going to put a lot of thought into the price point, right? It's a no-brainer for them. They're going to go in and click this add to cart button and then go in and buy it, which is another beautiful thing about marketing on Amazon. Amazon has everyone's credit card number on file. Everyone. It's to the point where my 7-year-old daughter, she'll see a commercial on television, right? And she's running to the freaking computer and she's typing it up on Amazon, this toy, and she's like, Dad, it's on Prime. How the heck do you know about Prime?
We got it in 2 days.
Right. Well, Dad, today's Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have it Saturday. You know, and she thinks that you click this button and it magically, there's some drone that magically comes in and drops it off. Oh, I think they're getting to that point too, right, where there's going to be drones. But so that's the other beautiful thing about it. Amazon has like 500 million credit card numbers on file. Like, how many people have bought stuff? I can't see everyone else that's watching this, but there's 2 people that's watching right now. So raise your hands if you've bought anything from Amazon within the last 6 months.
Sure.
Absolutely. So you see that? And did you have to go in and enter your credit card number?
No.
You know, so that makes it.
You just you don't have to even. You just press one thing to get your Kindle book.
It's one click, right? That's it. So now they've conditioned us to the point where we don't even think of this purchase, like these ebook purchases, as spending money.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it, because I don't have to go in my pocket. I don't have to take out my wallet, take out my credit card, or take out cash. I just have to click a button, and Amazon's going to send me this thing. I'm not thinking about the fact that it's going to get charged to my credit card. Like, that's totally out the window. So they've put all of these different steps and processes into place that makes it even easier to sell. Like, versus having your own website where you're trying to sell an ebook from your own website, you've got to convince the prospect that you're credible, right? You've got to convince them that they're going to actually get the product, right? No one ever doubts the fact that they're going to get something from Amazon. Never. Right? It's like the law of attraction and at its best, right? I put it out there, it's coming.
And, you know, on Amazon, you don't have to convince them that the payment is secure either. People take that for granted. And you can't emphasize enough what it means when people just one click and buy stuff and don't even think of it as money anymore. It's the same effect. Why do you think when you go to Vegas or a casino, they make you buy chips? Right? Because the chips don't seem like money, and you just like throwing those chips around, not realizing you're spending money. And they give you drinks, and you have a few drinks, and then you really don't realize you're spending money. Or when you go, when you know these, you go through the toll now, and they have the, well, not now, for the past probably 10 years, they have these Easy Pass.
Right.
things where you don't even have to think about it anymore. You just go right through the easy pass, and they keep your money and they earn interest off of that money from you. So and people are willing to do it, because it's so convenient. It's the convenience of it, the one click that makes it convert so much better, and the trustworthiness of that Amazon brand. Anybody could sell on Amazon. I mean, it's for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. So how do you come up with ideas for books?
So I like to go in. There's a million ideas. As many books as I have published right now, I feel like I would never run out of ideas. I feel like there will never be as much competition. I feel like there will never be too much competition to the point where the marketplace gets oversaturated, right? I think that's something that a lot of people ask themselves, and they convince themselves of that. But I mean, I could just come up with ideas just by watching a television commercial, just by looking at my own personal needs. What do I need right now? Just by going on Amazon. I come up with about 90% of my ideas just by searching Amazon.com. And just by just going through the different genres, right, and the different topics of ebooks that are out there, and just saying, wow, okay, well, this is pretty interesting. Like, a lot of my titles are on subject matters that I didn't even know existed, to be honest with you, but I just saw that there was a marketplace out there, and most importantly, there was a demand for it, and even more importantly, that people were willing to pay, to get that fix, to get that information. And it works for both fiction and nonfiction, right, because I have a lot of titles that are romance titles, sci-fi titles, mystery titles. My daughter, she's 17 years old. She started when she was 14, and she was really heavily, not so much now, but she was really heavily into murder mystery novels. And I would take her to Barnes and Nobles on a weekend, and she would pick up these titles and physical books. And I said to her, "You should start, because you're an expert at this stuff now. You've read 100 books. You're an expert, right, in this genre. You should start publishing now." So I gave her the program. And it was also a little bit of a test because I wanted to make sure that I made it clear and easy for everyone to understand, to the point where I said, okay, if a 14-year-old can understand this, the processes, then anyone can do it. There's no excuse.
That's awesome. So, I mean, if you were publishing, like, how much does it cost you to get someone to, I guess they have to do a little bit of research before they write the book, like per book? What kind of investment is it for you to put out a book on Amazon Kindle?
I don't spend any more than $150. And that's one of my very first books I spent about $800 on, and it was one of the worst mistakes that I made. I still regret that now, 4.5, 5 years almost later, because I feel like I got gypped, so even though I've made money from it, but I'm still like, man, I could have got that thing for a quarter of what I actually paid, because again, they're not 100-page titles that you're putting out. And there's so many great folks on sites like, it used to be Odesk, now it's Upwork.com, but like on Upwork and Elance and Guru.com that just are passionate about writing. So it's a win-win for them. For them to be able to go in and write 30 to 40, you've got me saying 30 now, 40 to 50 pages for $150, it's a win-win for them. They're doing something that they love. It's me talking about this stuff. I could talk about it all day. Talking about personal development, I could talk about it all day. I don't need the money. I'll take the money. Yeah, of course. But I could talk about it all day because it's something that I love. And if I'm getting paid for it, then that's a win-win as well. So the same thing with a lot of these writers. And one of the things that I do is, here's a little tip for your viewers, is when I go in and hire a writer, I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, out of these 10 subject matters, which ones do you enjoy writing about most, or which ones resonate with you most? And I'll give them those subjects to write on, right? Because I want them to feel totally at ease with what they're writing about, and I want it to not feel like work for them. I want it to be enjoyable. And if that happens, they're going to put their best in it. They're going to be, they're going to be willing to go in and go above and beyond when it comes to doing the research, and they're going to turn in something that's really, again, high quality. Right, comes back to that word there, high quality. So,
right.
So Jeanette is wondering, how many books a month do you publish then? Because you must have to keep.
Yeah. Well, so I set a goal to make $100,000 a month, right? And that's another story. So I got to the point where, the way I got to the level now where I'm doing between 50 and 60 a month is because one day, this is a few years ago, we've got another mutual friend. I think you might know this gentleman, Jawar Ron Douglas. You know Jawar?
Yeah, I spoke to him 2 weeks ago on the phone.
Okay, awesome. So I had gotten a check from Amazon a few years ago, probably about 4 years ago, and it was in the amount of $11,000. Now, this was the biggest check that I had ever gotten up until this point, right? So I called him up. We were accountability partners at the time. He had never made any money online, but he was trying to make money online. And I called him up maybe about 6:30 in the morning. I had just left my P.O. box, picked up my check, and I'm excited. Jawar, oh my God, dude, this is my biggest check so far this month. It's almost $11,000. It was like $10,800 something dollars, right? So I'm thinking that he's going to be excited for me because, again, remember, he had not made any money online, right? At least nothing significant. He hadn't even made like $1,000 a month. Guess what his reaction was?
It's like, so what?
No, he's like,
you need to do more.
He's like, Ty, you're BSing me. I can't really tell you what he said. He's like, Ty, you're BSing. He's like, you're playing around, dude. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just told you I made $11,000 and I really didn't put much time into this thing. I probably spent maybe about 8 hours over the last month or so to do this. He's like, you know what? You're playing around with this because you could be doing much more than this. And you know, it dawned on me, like, this was coming from someone who, again, had not been making money online to the degree that he wants to be making it or wanted to be making it. But he was honest and real enough to be real with me because he saw the potential in me. He said, because you've got the systems in place, you just need to turn it up a little bit more. I got back in my car. I sat down for about 10 minutes, and I said, you know what? He's right. I said, I'm going to set a massive goal. And again, it goes back to taking that immediate action, right? Immediate action. So I said, I'm going to set a crazy goal, something that I know is possibly attainable, but not too far out. And the goal was to do $100,000 a month. All right. Now, I haven't never hit that level yet. Never hit that level yet. But I'm grateful that I did set a goal that was that high, because imagine if I set the goal for $20,000 a month, I'd probably be at 13, right? So the moral of the story was to, is to set higher goals. And you just asked me about how many books a month do I publish. Because I'm still getting to that goal and I'm not, as eager to reach it now, I've gotten really complacent and lazy and relaxed now, right? But
what you're doing is nothing to sneeze at.
yeah, but it's not the goal. I think Jim Rohn says to set a goal not for what you can get out of it, but because of a person that you have to become to reach that goal, right?
Right.
So we're publishing about 200 books now a month. So between 150 to 200 books a month, and I just started cranking it back up about a month ago because, again, I just got relaxed, went on a lot of vacations, slouched around the house a lot, working on other projects, and I've got some other projects that are doing really, really well, and kind of forget about the Kindle stuff a bit, and that's where I'm at. But
right. And you like making excuses for why you're like doing 30 to 50 grand.
You hear this, right? I thought you were gonna say excuses why I haven't hit it yet. I'm still making excuses, right?
Yeah, we're making excuses. Well, yeah, that too. But you're still doing more per month in passive profits on Amazon than most people in this country make in a year.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing is momentum, staying focused, and consistency, right? For me, those things right there totally change the amount. Like, I've had success online. I've had a good amount of success online, but I was never able to get past the point of doing $25,000 a month or so with any one thing, right? So, and that's because that's got to be the president calling right there.
I can't believe he's doing that.
Yeah, I just got this new phone.
I shared a joke with Alice before we got online. I think you're really holding up.
I'm going to be honest with you. I just got this new phone, a Samsung, was it an S6 Galaxy 6, yesterday.
Is that a new phone?
My other phone is always on mute or always on vibrate. Being I just got, you can see it's still shiny. Being I just got this yesterday.
Is that a Neil Gupta that's calling you?
No. Yeah, that is a Neil Gupta, yeah.
Yeah,
Why
okay.
is Neil Gupta calling me?
So you get a pass. He's got some a high caliber person calling him right there.
It's not the president, but it's close enough.
Yeah, he's close. He's really close. I mean, he's over there on Nectar Island with Richard Branson and hanging out with billionaires. So,
I'm gonna be honest. I'm still trying to figure out how to put this thing on vibrate. Oh, here we go. Okay, it's on vibrate. Sorry about that.
Alice, you've got to share the joke that I shared.
I can't.
No, I saw it. I saw it on Facebook. You're a funny guy.
On Facebook? I don't think. No, it wasn't on
No,
Facebook.
she private messaged me.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay.
I was preparing a little bit too long for the interview, so I apologize.
Yeah, I got you. That's fine.
So now, do you remember, you were in the middle of something when Ron interrupted, so do you remember where you were, or should we?
Yeah, we were talking about the number of books that are published right now a month to get to the level where you're generating $50,000-$60,000, and right now it's between 150 to 200, and it's not consistently every month, because the beautiful thing about this is you're publishing books. Like, I still have books that I published 4.5 years ago that are still generating income. You know, that are still bringing in sales. The same thing with you, Ron. I mean, it's not Kindle books, right? But with your physical books, you have books that your first book that you ever published is still generating you income. I'd be willing to bet.
Yeah, for sure. So I turned it into a series too. So it's not just, it's like I've done 6 versions of that first book.
Yep. And that's one of the secrets. That's smart. You get one that's selling well, and you turn it into a series. You give them more because obviously there's a demand. So there's a few things that I do with them, right? We can actually segue into that right now. So you get one that's selling really well, and then you turn it into a series. You create a part 1, a part 2, or you actually go in to different categories, right? The other thing that I do is once I get one that's selling well, is I'll then go in and translate it into Spanish, because the Spanish market is just, I mean, it's hugely underserved, right? And that just came from listening to your audience. So just being able to see what your marketplace wants. And I had folks that would say, hey, Ty, you've got these great books that are out there, but there's nothing for folks that primarily read and speak Spanish. Right, so once I started doing that, I see where that will bump my sales up by 15 to 20%, 30% sometimes, right? And then the next thing is you turn it into an audio book. Okay, so I find that it's easier to first go in and translate it into Spanish, and then possibly some other languages after that, and then turn it into an audio book. I've got an awesome husband and wife team, Rich and Audrey, that take all of my books and they'll turn them into audio books for $150. And if anyone's ever interested in working with them, I can give you their contact information. And then after that, I'll turn them into a physical version using like CreateSpace or Lulu. So there's that. You have something that's working, and you continue to find out, how can I expand? How can I reach these people that are interested in this through different channels, right? So one of the channels might be through Audible. One of the channels might be through physical distribution. Another channel might be through just trying to reach the Spanish market and markets that speak and read in other languages.
Yeah. That's awesome, the language thing too. And then going back to the series, I noticed it putting together our product at Writer Help Wanted. I'd looked at one book of Ron's, yeah. And then I went back to Amazon, and suddenly all of his books were shown up at the bottom saying, like, based on what you looked at before. And I hadn't looked at all of them, or even more than one at that point, and they're all there. Or if you go to, to one of the books, underneath it says customers also bought, and his books are filling up the whole area as well. So
that's a beautiful marketing machine that Amazon has in place, right? So not only are they marketing for you, but they're also marketing to the degree where they're showing social proof, right? Because you're looking at one title, and they immediately say, okay, well, here's some other titles by the same author that you might be interested in. And then when you click onto one of those titles, they'll say, hey, listen, these are some of the other books that folks have bought. So social proof there, right? People are actually buying this. Not only are they buying the title that I'm interested in, but they're also buying some of his other titles as well. What's wrong with me if I don't go and buy them? So maybe I should go in and start buying as well. So Amazon, they're a master at marketing. And, one of the other things that they'll do is they'll send you recommendations, right? You go in and you buy a particular title, and then you might get an email a few days later or a few weeks later, and they'll say, here's something else that you might be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's a great tip. And the other thing was the email thing. My wife just got an email the other day, and she had never bought my books because we get them for free, right? So she got an email because my last book was a kid's book. It was kids' favorite restaurant recipes, right? So she was just searching for kids-related stuff for my daughter and got an email on my kid's book. And it was a bunch of other products and things kids might like. I'm like, wow. I'm like, those, the golf that I played with Jeff Bezos is really paying off, man. He's like hooking me up with all these promotions.
It's nice. It's really nice. Did she buy the book or what? Did she buy it?
No, she has it. She has like 10 copies of it already. She has signed copies of it. It's funny. It was funny when you do 6 books. The first book, everybody's all excited. Like, you go, I go see my mom. She's like, I need like 100 copies of these books. She's giving them out to everybody. Second book, she's like, oh, good, great. The second book. The third book, she's like, oh, another book, huh? Good job. Good job. Fourth book, she's like, wow, how many books is that now?
Right.
The 6th book, she's like, she don't even want a copy anymore. She's like, yeah, give me a copy when you get a chance and sign it. You know what I mean? It's like, so what?
By the 6th book, she's like, nobody likes to show off.
Yeah.
But you were talking about.
Hold on. I want to interrupt you. I love this. I love this right here. I'm having a ball. We're gonna have to continue this through like Monday. To hell with the holiday and everything else. Right? Oh, yeah, I cursed again. I'm sorry. Jesus. I need to put this like a dollar thing here somewhere.
Hell is not a curse. It's a place you go if you don't buy my books.
Okay, there you go. All right. So, all right, I'm sorry, Alice. Bad time.
I'm just kind of glancing. There are some questions coming in, and as they're relevant to what we're talking about. So, if you're doing all these new books and the sales taper off on older ones, do you go back and do something, or do you just keep moving forward?
Hey, the biggest thing is, and it's something that I've been doing all along, but I just realized it about a week ago when I was talking to one of my students who had also been publishing for the last 3 years or so, and he sent me a text, and over the last 2 weeks, let me start back again. He's been publishing on Amazon for the last three and a half years. He sent me a text maybe about 3 weeks ago, and he says, Ty, you know what? I slowed down with my Kindle publishing. I'm starting to get back into it. Right? Would you mind if I send you a text every once in a while for pointers, or if we jump on Skype and things like that? He was one of my students that I started out with way back in the day, so we've got a really good rapport. And he started to really just pay more attention to the books that he's already had published, right? And as a result, he said that just this month that just passed, right? He's saw his first month where he sold 300 copies of a single title. Now, this is not a new book that he's gone in and republished or published, I should say, but it's just one of his older books that he published 3 years ago, and this month now is his first month that he's seen sales of 300 plus copies sold of this one title. And the reason why is because he's gone back and he started to pay more attention, right, to that title. It's like anything. You start to pay more attention to your relationships. What happens? It starts to bloom again. You pay more attention to your garden, right? To your flowers. They start to bloom again. You pay more attention to some of the older ebooks that you might have published 3-4 years ago. It just magically happens. I can't explain it, right? But by paying attention, so one of the things that I'll do is I might go in, I might run some Facebook ads. Very cheap. I'm not spending a lot of money, right? I might spend $5-10 a day or so, but just to get some visibility back to this ebook. It's like trying to start an old car again.
So like a short-term ad, you mean? Like
short-term ad, right? Just to build the momentum up until Amazon's system kicks in place, their marketing system kicks in place again. So I find that, number one, you're going to have older ebooks that you've published years ago that will continue to maintain their sales, right? No matter what, because again, it's just something that is going to constantly be in demand. And then you might have some that taper off. And when they do taper off, you go in and you pay them some attention. That's it.
And I want to make
a great question.
A couple key points also I want to make. We're going to be talking to you in a couple of weeks from now on your webinar, and you're going to be showing us specific examples of all this stuff where people can see your screen on the webinar, because this format, is not as robust as a webinar format where you could show specific things and log in and show screens and stuff, so people can look out for that coming in a couple of weeks. But I appreciate you sharing all that you're sharing. And the other thing I wanted to mention, we were talking about like publishing so many books. You did say that you have books that have done $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month. So you never know how much a book is going to do until you actually put it out there, and then you could turn it into you take the winners and develop those and focus on those. And it just becomes a numbers game after a while, where the more you put out there, and if you're a writer, it should be easy for you just to simply upload these books and have things that you can sell on Amazon. I mean, it's the simplest thing that you can do, and the more order buttons you have and products you have out there, the more money you're gonna make, and you just got to think of it like that. And if you're not a writer and you're thinking about outsourcing this whole thing, think of it as an investment. $150 or less, and you can make thousands of dollars, ongoing. Even if you pay $150 and then start making $20 a month, at the end of the year you made $240 on that one little book that you paid $150 for, and it's ongoing passive profits that keep coming, month after month. So you really have to think about it as an investor, especially if you're not a writer yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's how I look at it. I've seen the most amount of growth when I've taken the royalty checks that I've received, and instead of taking them and maybe socking them away in the bank or doing something else, right, going on vacation or something like that, reinvest a portion of them back into this business, because that's exactly what it is. It's a business, right? And just like us that are watching this, or anyone else that might be watching this that's a business owner, you know that your business cannot sustain itself if you take 100% of everything out of it and never put anything back into it. Yeah. So that's exactly what this is. So when I got to the point where I said, okay, I'm making $5,000 or $6,000, I need to start putting more into this thing, put it back into it, and start sacrificing, right, short-term gain or short-term loss for long-term gain, I should say. Right? That was my philosophy there. I'm gonna put this money back in. I'm gonna be disciplined, and maybe I'll take 1,000 or 2,000 back out of it. I'll put the rest back in, and I'll do this for you don't have to do it forever. You do it for 6 months or so until you have a big enough stable of books, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, and that's really good for our audience is largely writers. They like writing, and they want to write their own things, which they absolutely can. But if they want to scale things up, that they're probably going to need to have people help. And you don't publish all these books under your own name, right? You use pen names?
Not at all. I haven't published a single one under my own name. Because, again, you don't want to be considered a jack of trades, right? Like, you can't have Ty Cohen be expert on Japanese tomato gardening, and then Ty Cohen the expert on internet marketing, and then Ty Cohen the relationship expert, right? Although I'm good at all those things in real life, no one would believe it. No one would believe it. So there you go. So I assume names. I use the word is escaping me right now, but I don't publish under my own name. What's that?
Pen name.
Pen names. There you go. There you go. Pen names. I'm looking at this pen here, and I couldn't figure it
out. I don't have a pen.
But I'm glad, Alice, you brought back the topic of writers, and I know that your audiences are primarily writers. One thing that I do want to say to you guys is, and I see this because I've worked with literally tens of thousands of writers. I actually have a site right now that's geared towards writers. It's called writerslife.org. But the biggest thing that I want to say to you is do not get in your own way. All right? Do not overcomplicate this process. It is extremely simple up until the point where you make it other than that. All right? Up until the point where you say there has to be more to it than this. All right? Up until the point where, and again, you want to publish some awesome stuff. You want to publish incredible stuff, but don't overthink this and say no one's going to buy 50 pages. Right? Because that's not true. Try it out. And the beautiful thing about Amazon publishing is everything is digital, so you can always go in and make revisions. You can always go in and change. You can change your title if you wanted to. You can go in and change your actual content and upload it again. So you're not stuck to this final version. I know that's one of the things that will keep a lot of people at bay, right, is that it has to be perfect, especially writers. It has to be perfect, and that's a beautiful thing because this is your baby. It's your creation. You don't want it to be full of flaws, right? But remember, you can always go in and change it. I see that right there is the #1 thing. Wanting to be too perfect and overcomplicating the process is by far the #1 thing that keeps most of my writing students from really seeing the amount of success that they should. Where the internet marketers, they're ready to just get the stuff out. They want to get it done. And then the personal development folks, because I deal with a lot of those individuals as well, they're really taking action as well, and they start to see results. So it's that momentum, get it going.
And
That
then
was a long answer.
no, that's a good answer. But those people also are worried because, yes, you can change it, but what if they get a bad review?
That's going to happen. It's the inevitable. You can't please everyone. You're going to get a bad review. If Mother Teresa was alive and she wrote a book, and she published it on Amazon, she'd get tortured. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that. But Mother Teresa would get a bad review.
Yes.
Yeah.
No?
So, sometimes to really be popular and be well known as something, you have to be polarizing to the point where you take a side. And everybody that's on that same side is going to love you. Everybody that's on the opposite side is going to hate you. So you'd rather have a lot of people love you and some people hate you than nobody know you at all. So if you look at Barack Obama, he's very polarizing towards the middle class and towards, it's probably taboo to even speak his name on it. Some people hate him so much. But if you look at how
heart attacks every Monday morning.
Down right now.
if you look if you look at how he won, and politics aside, just look at the marketing of how he won. He took a side, right? And he said it's us versus the evil corporate, rich folks, and he did that right during the recession, right? Yeah. So and then he used social media and used the internet to do it, to the point where he gets on Twitter and he has like 10 million people that love him and millions of people just hating him and saying bad things about him. But that's just him. He's polarized.
And both sides are following him too, right? Like,
and both sides are following him, exactly.
You got to hear what's going on. Hey, listen, if you get 50% of the people in the United States to hate the hell out of you, you can become president. Get 49% of the people to hate you, and you could become president.
Yeah.
Because you've got 51% of the people that love you to death.
Right. So it ties in with, you can't be concerned about negative reviews as long as you have positive ones, right? As long as you have a lot of positive ones. Look at all the celebrities out there that are real polarizing figures, like the Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, or Al Sharpton, or both sides of the spectrum, right? They're very polarizing, and they're always going to be on TV because they have a huge following, because they take such a strong stance on one position. So, you got to think about it like that. Do you want to be, rich and well known, or do you want to be liked by a handful of people and broke?
Right. And you know what? Going back to a lot of the guys that you just mentioned on both sides are purposely polarizing. Right? Think about it. They're marketers at the best level. They know what's going to get a rise out of people. They know what's going to get people to say, "Oh, are you serious? Did he really just say that?" Right? I bet you anything that they spend hours crafting it's just like writing a sales letter. Crafting, how am I going to get the most amount of response, the most amount of reaction? It doesn't matter if it's Bill Maher, right, or if it's Sean Hannity or whoever it might be. So don't be afraid of the negative reviews that you might get on Amazon. It just comes with the territory.
And it makes sense too when you're looking, as a consumer, looking at the reviews. If they all say it's like all sunshine and roses, then that's a little suspicious.
Something is wrong, right?
Yeah.
So how do you go about when you initially publish a book, getting reviews and getting those initial sales? Or do you just like put them out there and let it do what it does?
I asked my wife to buy a copy. Ron Douglas, Alice to buy a copy. Everyone else, no, seriously.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. So with the reviews
credit card number and no problem, I'll do that.
What's that?
Give me your credit card number and I'll do that.
Yeah, you sound like my mother-in-law here. That's a whole other story. I got her a Kindle for Christmas, and my credit card was attached to it, and she's like my 7-year-old daughter. She thinks these ebooks just magically appear. You press this button, but
like the App Store.
Yeah, like the App Store. So with reviews, so one of the things that I'll do is, if you have a list, right, especially if you have a series and you've published you know, volume 1, volume 2, you now have a list that you can reach out to, and you can offer them some type of a bribe, but you got to be careful with it because asking for reviews are really against Amazon's terms of service. So I like to let the process naturally happen. You know, I might kickstart it sometimes because we tend to follow the leader. All right, we're very tribe-like. So if we start to see where people will, if we start to see where there's negative reviews, then we're more inclined to go in and post a negative review. If we start to see more positive reviews, then we'll start to, you know, we don't want to be the only one to leave a negative review sometimes. So we might even lessen the review. Instead of it being 1 star, we might give it 3 stars. So I like to kickstart that process. Sometimes I'll leave a review myself, or I might ask 2 or 3 people to go in and legitimately leave a review. And by legitimately, I mean go in and actually purchase the product, right? And then, right, and then you have what's known as like a I forgot the name of it, but it's a confirmed review, right? It's a confirmed purchase.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure. And what determines how Amazon ranks books in the marketplace? Like, how do you get to the top of the rankings and people and Amazon promoting your book for you and suggesting that people buy it?
Demand. It's like anything, demand, right? You know, when they first started, man, it was a really cool way to game the system, and I would literally go in and click on the titles of my books maybe 75 times a day. I would type in a keyword, and then once it came up, click on that. This doesn't work anymore now, so I'm just telling you this for entertainment purposes. But click on the title about 75 times, and that would work. But now, you know, you can run Facebook ads, you can run Google ads if you wanted to. I would really stay away from Google ads, especially if you're new to this, right? You can run like some MSN, like Bing ads if you wanted to. But I love Facebook ads to really kickstart traffic and kickstart that momentum and just to get people to your page, right? So there's a few things that I talk about in the program that will allow you to build up that momentum and allow you to build up that visibility and the ranking for your book as well. But that's what Amazon bases it on, you know. And there's also Amazon has an advertising platform where you can actually go in, use their advertising platform, and advertise your book within the Amazon.com site. And I've seen where they've given preference to folks that use that platform, right? So they're saying, okay, you're advertising your book within Amazon, so now we'll rank you a little bit higher because we want to keep you as an advertiser. You're spending money with us.
So you can do that with Kindle books? I thought it was just for physical products in the store.
You can do that with Kindle books. They've got the 2 different advertising platforms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've done it for clients. Like I have a couple clients that have physical products, and we run Amazon ads for them. But I didn't realize you could do it with Kindle books.
And the same thing works for on the physical side as well.
Right. Because really, I mean, you could just give it a little push, and it hits a tipping point where everybody's buying your thing, you know.
Yep.
So that's the exciting part of Amazon and their marketplace. All you need to do is give it a little push, kickstart it into the rankings, and all of a sudden it starts taking off.
That's it. It's like driving stick shift, right? You push start it or something like that, push it into gear, and you're good to go. Hey, going back to the physical products also, if anyone's selling physical products, another good tip for your clients is tell them to oversend Amazon stock. So if Amazon orders, let's say if they are selling 20 pieces a week, right? Send them 50 pieces a week. When they have an overabundance of stock, they tend to rank you higher too with the physical products.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Good tip.
So test that out. Don't go in and test it out on a large scale. Don't send them 5,000, you know, and then come back to me looking for a check or something like that. Test it out with one product, and I guarantee you'll see some results.
So Ty, do you use the KDP Select program at all, or?
No, I don't.
Nope.
No.
And why not?
Never got into it.
Never. Okay. Fair enough.
I got complacent. I got lazy. I said, oh, my God, they've got this new program. Now I got to read all of this stuff. Are you serious?
Figure it out.
So that's it.
Oh, yeah, you should know, what you're getting into. And if you haven't done that, you haven't done that.
Yeah. I'm gonna go in and I'll read about it tonight, maybe.
Oh, did I inspire you?
You inspired me, right. And if I lose my shirt, then I'm going to be looking for a check from you.
There is some controversy. I guess they've started where they're going to pay out the authors in the program based on the number of pages read. So that's why I was wondering about yours, because your books are quite short. So
interesting. See, now that might be a different twist, right? Because you've got the shorter books. And apps, right? I have 2 different mobile app development companies where we go in and we publish iPhone apps and Android apps. But the same thing applies with apps. So Apple will measure, and part of their ranking system is how based on how long someone stays within your app. So if someone opens your app and then closes it 6 seconds later, Apple figures, this is not an app that should be really ranked where it's at because people are not really interested in it. So I see where that makes sense.
Yeah. And this is actually how they're getting paid too out of the pool or whatever that Amazon sets aside.
Right.
Some
More
writers
interest.
are thinking that's a terrible thing, but then there might be some,
Oh,
benefit.
if you're a marketer, if you know a little bit about marketing, that's a beautiful thing because you can lead your reader on, right? Not in a deceptive way, but if you craft your stories to the point where, so I've got this thing called a fishing technique, right? And basically what this is you put your best content at the very beginning, right? It's called a fishing, and it's like you're hooking your reader in because Amazon allows you to preview content. Right, so where they allow you to preview your content, you have your best stuff right there. Your best stuff. There's 2 things that I do in this area. So you have your absolute best stuff in, and you're hooking them in to the point where they want more. They have to get more. Right? It's like the drug dealer that's giving out samples. Right? You get. I was about to say something that was really, really bad. Okay, you get them in, right? And they want to read more.
Right, it's like the dude in the food court giving out chicken on a toothpick to get you to buy more.
Hey, what is it? BJ's, right? BJ's, and what's the other one?
BJ's, give me Costco.
They have that system down pat.
Yeah.
I went down to Atlanta with Greg Caesar, right? And I think he's having his holiday get together, and we're going to. He says, "Ty, ride with me to Costco's. I got to pick some things up." I think we're just going to get a couple of bottles of wine. This dude is going on the BJ's tour. He's going on the BJ's sample tour, and he's literally going around. He's eating stuff. He's not even Jewish, and he's eating stuff that's like kosher stuff, and because it's right. They've hooked them in. So I'm like, this is my fishing method right here, and to the best possible example. So give them your best. I forgot what the question is now. Give them your best possible stuff. Hook them in, right? And then they're going to want to read. And you can do that throughout the entire book. You can even lead them on, right? Like when we're watching television shows, what happens? At the end, they'll say, next week, this is coming. Right. It's a cliffhanger. There you go. So we can do that. I mean, that's an awesome opportunity for authors to be able to go in.
Yeah. You can do that if you have a series of books and you're planning on publishing the next book. You can leave like a loop in their mind, to kind of make them have to buy the next one. I think they did that with 50 Shades of Grey, right? Didn't they have a second one?
I didn't get a chance to finish reading my copy, man.
I never read the
I know that was a trick question right there. So what happened on page 72 of 50 Shades of Grey? I forgot.
I have no idea.
One has notes. You'll have to refer to them and get back to them.
It's funny with that book. I believe with that book covers went up dramatically because people would take the book and cover it up, and you see them like reading it with a cover on the subway and stuff.
Hey, why would you do that though? You want the shock value? I'd be right there sitting front and center. What are you guys looking at? There's nothing here, nothing to see here.
Yeah, right. If I was a single guy, probably.
So, are you reenacting some? I heard you were reenacting some of those live scenes that were in. It's great. How's that coming up?
I think my wife might be reenacting them on me. I'm not even sure. I haven't read it yet, so I've noticed a change. I've noticed a change in her.
Got it.
Yeah. So I wanted to say on a serious note, we talked about like giving your Amazon Kindle book a push. So what we're going to be doing, and I haven't told Alice about that yet, but she's going to agree with me, is we're going to be rolling out a program for our elite members who join our monthly group, where if you have an Amazon Kindle book, we'll give you advertising, and we'll have a group where everybody can buy each other's books and give reviews on each other's books and kind of give each other's books a push. So we're looking for all our Amazon Kindle people right in the group that want to do that, and let us know, and we'll promote it for you right in the group if you have a book. And it's good for us too to say, here's our member published their first Kindle book. Take a look at it, and we'll advertise that for you amongst our members. So it's
Awesome.
definitely something.
Awesome. And I've got a group also, you know, as an extra bonus, if you guys want to do it, you can invite any of your members into our Facebook group where we do the same thing. So now you have a larger pool as well. So there you go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Sure. Sure. Gonna take advantage of that offer. We have it on recorded. We have it on video that you.
Well, I'm thinking that's a way to put him on the spot. You know, he looked a little uncomfortable right there. So.
What do you think about that, Alice? I want to get your approval.
Oh, that's great, and I think that's.
Now all of a sudden he wants Alice's approval.
Yes.
Before it's official.
That was a simple one to assume that I would agree with. So yes, absolutely. I think that's perfect because I think as writers we should support each other. There's so much stuff out there that so many customers out there that we can certainly work together to help each other.
Alice always approves of stuff that adds value to the customers. Me and I go back and forth because I'm such a hardcore direct marketer and she's so customer focused. Not to say that I'm not, but she's like, always about the customer experience, even on the sales page. So I'm like, we need more hype. We need to put more hype in. And she's like, nah, what would the customers think? And so we ended up with more of a content-based, like educational type sales page. You should have saw the sales page I wrote, man. It was like a Home Shopping Network infomercial. She balanced me out and toned it down.
Hey, if it works, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. You want it to work, and you want to attract the right type of customer as well. So while you may go hype, you'll get the kind of people you may not want. So.
Yeah, she believes in the right type of customer, like a certain type of customer. I believe the right type of customer is someone that pays you. But she's different in that regard.
Hey, either you can use it as a lure or as a repellent, right? Either you attract them or you drive them away.
Right, so, sure. All right, so we're at an hour and change. So what other questions do we have coming up, Alice?
Well, Jeanette wanted to know if there's a standard marketing plan you use with each book. That could be another hour.
I'm sorry, I missed the end of that.
Wait, where did it go? Do you have a standard marketing plan you use with each book?
I do, actually. So, number one, I would start with Facebook ads, okay? And I only do this when I have a good feeling about a book. So I've gotten to the point now that I can tell what is going to be a seller. If I'm a little bit iffy about it, I'll just throw it out there and see what happens first. But my marketing plan is basically using Facebook ads to get some momentum. And that's pretty much it. It's nothing elaborate. It's nothing that's way out there. There's not this 7-step system where I'm putting a blog together and then a Facebook page for it. And I don't want to put too much time into it unless I know that it's going to sell. So once it sells and once there's an audience, then I go back and I'll start to invest a little bit more time and money into it. But before that, I don't want to gamble.
Right. And is that one of the things you're going to show us on the training workshop we have coming up?
No, he's putting me on the spot. I wasn't, but
you can make mention to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go over a lot of that stuff. What you can do once you get a bestseller, or not a bestseller, but once you get something that is starting to sell. How can you go in and kickstart those sales even more? So we'll definitely talk about that.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
What other questions?
Wendy, wants to know, she's just thinking about your 30 to 50 page book, 12-point Arial font, half margin all around, single or double space?
You know what? That's a good question. Because I want to get the most out of my writers, right? I make sure that it's single space because then, and I'm glad that we came back to this. And it was 40 to 50 pages. Ron had said 30 pages, I think it was. But it's 40 to 50 pages. See, now we've got to recondition them the opposite way again. It's 40 to 50 pages, all right? Arial is the font type. Something is going on over there. And then it's 12-point, right? Or sometimes I'll even use 10-point. I'll have them write this in 10-point font size, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. And then the margins, again, are going to be half of an inch all the way around. Now, the reason why I start with like a 10-point font size is because I can then go in and expand it to 12 points. That gives me a few more pages there, right? And then I'll have them start with single space, all right, paragraphs, because then I can then go in and expand those to double space, and then that gives me even more pages, so it expands. So there you go.
The Kindle book, it's published as double space?
I can publish it as double space, right? So
And
once I get it back, what's that?
I'd never seen a double-spaced book before. It seemed like it would be hard to read, or I don't know.
No, actually, take a look at it.
Okay.
Maybe I could send you a link to something you can go in and download and take a
Okay.
look, right? So, and it depends on the device also, right? Because with the devices, remember, you can go in, you can adjust the font sizes and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Wendy also was saying, and obviously we don't have all the details, but it might be an interesting question, is how would you market a Kindle book already out there and it's 300 pages?
That's good. What would be? Do you know what the topic would be?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. I thought these
Unless
were.
Wendy's still here and she could.
Gotcha. All right. So I would start with, again, Facebook ads, right? Go in, put up some YouTube ads. If it's a how-to book, right? Where with this one, 300 pages, I'm kind of doubting that it's not, right? But Facebook ads, go in and find out what it is that your readers are interested in, because I found that the people that are interested in romance novels are sometimes also interested in mystery novels, right? They may be also interested in thriller novels. So you can advertise to those individuals on Facebook under romance categories, or interests, I should say, as well as mystery interests and then thriller interests as well. There's a lot of fan pages and groups that target, the different genres that are out there. So find out what it is that your audience are really interested in, and usually it's not just your genre. Sometimes you have to think outside of that box. When you get someone that's really a rabid reader, they'll read 2 to 3 different genres. So find out what those 2 to 3 different genres are, and then go in and target them on Facebook.
Yeah. And Ron's going to have to teach our members about Facebook ads at some point, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If I ever get finished with this Writer Help Wanted project, I can move on to my Facebook project.
That's another component there. So.
And Adrian's wondering where you get your book covers designed, since you know that men pay so much attention to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have graphic designers that design all of my covers now. I use the same folks, but when I first started, I used to get them off of Upwork.com or Guru.com. All right, and when you're doing that, just some guidelines for you is find a cover that you like on Amazon, so that you can provide it to your graphic designer. You can say, I want to model something that's similar to this, or this is the look that I want to go after. You're not copying it, right? But you want to give him something to work off of. Say, I love the tones that they have here. I love the colors and things like that. I love how he's holding, his wife on the cover here, or whatever it might be. The other thing is, I'll give him price points that I'm comfortable with paying. Right, so I'll say, listen, when you're putting together your project, you have to be very, very descriptive in your project post when you put it up on these sites. I tell them exactly what I'm looking for. I tell them how much I'm willing to pay. I tell them when I expect to get it. And I give them an idea as to the direction that I want to go in. So there you go.
Well, thank you. So Charlotte also it's taking us a little bit off topic, but she did catch on to you talking about using the narrators, and she happens to be a narrator herself, so is trying to get herself out there as a service provider and wondering where you find narrators. I know she said you're working with the one team, but where did you find them?
Right, the team that I have, Audrey and Rich, I found them. They're a husband and wife team. I found them on a site called Rent-A-Coder. I don't even know if Rent-A-Coder is still around anymore. Is it?
I think it got bought by somebody, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it got bought by Odesk, and then Odesk got bought by some. But I found them on Rent-A-Coder probably about 7 years ago.
Freelancer.
Yeah. Okay, so that's right. It's Freelancer now, freelancer.com. Yeah. So you can go on freelancer.com, you can go on Upwork, you can go on Guru, and make your services available.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think we got through most of them there. So I kind of covered a lot as we were going along because they seemed to fit right in with what we were talking about. So I think
absolutely. And going back to the young lady who wanted to offer her services, right, as a narrator, the biggest thing that you can do that'll give you a plus on your side is to make sure that you have some sort of an audio reel. So go in and put together a couple of samples of you reading material, right, and use that in your, I don't know what they call it on Upwork, but use that in your profile. Have a link to your YouTube page or a link to your SoundCloud page or something like that, so that people can actually go in and listen to you. One of the biggest things that I dislike about trying to hire someone to do narration for me is to have to communicate back and forth and not be able to immediately go in and hear what they sound like. Because I want to be able to hear what they sound like. I want to be able to hear the quality of what they can provide for me, right? And instantly be able to say this is a fit or this is not a fit. I don't want to have to communicate with them and send 3 or 4 emails before I can finally hear what they sound like. So
Yeah, you always got to give a sample of your work for sure, and that's the best way to, make people feel comfortable enough to buy from you. Goes back to what we're saying about the sample, like lure them in with that sample of what you're giving.
right.
With your drug dealer references.
I was trying to forget that, and for the last 10 seconds in my head, I'm saying, I hope he doesn't go there. I hope he's not going there. I hope he's not.
It's so shocking for someone who grew up in the suburbs of Vancouver.
Then he went there.
Ty really grew up in the suburbs of Connecticut. He just watches a lot of television. Like he watches the Wire and all the different shows, and he believes that he's a gangster from watching these shows.
That's where I get it from. Hey, it's a vivid imagination, right? You've got to have an imagination in this business. If not, I'd be screwed.
All I know about Connecticut wasn't Who's the Boss, that show?
It was, yeah. So, yeah.
That's all I know about Connecticut.
So I thought every time, I'm looking to bump into Tony Danza every 5 seconds, and Tony was never around, so.
Yeah. Ty got into one little fight, and his mom got scared, and she sent him off to live with his uncle in Bel Air.
All right, you guys are silly.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting silly, so it's probably time to wrap it up, right?
That's it. Hey, man, I had a lot of fun here, and I think that you guys have a great bunch. I appreciate being on here. I had a really good time. I was actually going to jump on my motorcycle just now and go out for a ride and say to hell with this whole thing. But I'm glad I didn't blow you off. I'm glad that we had some fun. And awesome questions. I got a lot of questions that I've never been asked before, so kudos to you folks for asking great questions.
All right, great. It was a pleasure having you, man. You're really the expert on this stuff. I don't know anybody online that knows it as much as you, that's had as much success as you, and is willing to teach it. There's a lot of people out there that had success, but not as many that know how to teach it like you do. And I'm excited for our upcoming workshop where you're going to dig more into this stuff and really show the nitty-gritty and the details of everything we're talking about today. So if you guys like this presentation, he shared a lot of golden nuggets. You're really going to love the workshop we have coming up.
22nd.
And we'll be sending out more information on that. Was it the 22nd?
Yes.
We'll definitely be sending out more information on that coming soon. But thank you, Ty, and say hello to your wife and kiss your kids and have a great day. Get a ride on your motorcycle and enjoy yourself.
I don't have a motorcycle. It's just that was part of the whole gangster scenario.
Okay.
But this part was more like I was gonna get this black leather jacket with the tags and stuff on the back, but here in Garner, North Carolina, I don't think that'll fit too much. We really have cows here, so
yes.
Really tip over some cows.
Yeah, I'm gonna go tip over some cows and kick a couple of cows in the ass. That's what I'm gonna do right now. Oh man, I cursed again. There I go. Okay, guys, I gotta go. I need someone holding up.
We got a $1,500 fine from the FCC every time you say a curse word, man. Killing us right now.
Thank you. Soon, I guess, when there's more laws.
Hey, Alice, it was a pleasure. This was awesome. It wouldn't have been the same without you, so I appreciate you being here. Thank you. And thank you for showing up on time.
Yes, I'm early.
All right, and really reinforcing the stereotype there, so thank you. I appreciate that. Have a good one.
All right.
Take care. So long.